Good morning or afternoon or whenever we're doing this. Today we're going to be doing convert metric units of length, and this is going to be pages 857 to 862. Make sure you put your name on it and you put a staple. We're going to be turning all of it in today. All right. You're probably going to want to have this little guy here handy. All right. You won't need your conversion cheat sheet charts today. But you will want to have this handy for later on. It's been a while since we recorded like this, so welcome back. Today is lesson 10, converting metric units of length. The essential question is, again, how can I use measurement conversions to solve real-world problems? So again, we're doing all these conversions, but we also want to apply it to real-life situations so that you understand why you're using it for. All right. So the metric system, as you can see right there, the metric system is a decimal system of measurement. And to convert metric units, you multiply or you divide by powers of 10. And as I've said before, the metric system is way easier dealing with than having to remember how many quarts are in a gallon and pints are in quarts and blah, 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 because now you just use your divide and multiply by powers of 10. Which makes it fairly easy. Again, you kind of just look at how many zeros you have. So let's look at the first problem here. You have this big python. I don't like snakes. Example 1 of the largest recorded pythons measured 7 3/10 meters long. What is the length of the python in centimeters? So they give you this measurement here, 7.3 meters, but they want you to convert it into centimeters. All right. So we're going to convert that into centimeters. So since 1 meter equals 100 centimeters, now this down here is where you're going to want to be able to use these conversions, is basically right here. And in this part right here, you don't want to cut it out or anything, but you are going to want to make sure that you refer back to this section in converting. But 1 meter equals 100 centimeters or 1,000 millimeters. Because if you guys remember from this ruler here, the numbers are centimeters. And in between each of those, there are 10 millimeters, right? So it would take 100 of these. So if this thing were to stretch all the way out to 100, well, you get 100 times 10, you're going to get 1,000. So that's 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter, like a meter stick. So think about that, because they have right here, kind of comparisons. 1 millimeter, again, it's the thickness of a dime, which is that little tiny bit right there. 1 centimeter is like the width of a pinky finger right there. Okay, 1 meter is the height of a doorknob. Or I just say think of a yardstick or a meter stick. All right, think of that. And a kilometer, 6 city blocks. Okay, a kilometer is a long ways. It's a big amount. So when we're doing these, think about that. All right. So again, since we say that 1 meter equals 100 centimeters, well, we multiply 7.3 or 7 3/10 times 100. And we've done this before, okay? We don't really need to stack it up like this. You can if you want, but we don't need to stack it up like this. Because if you remember correctly, all you have to do on these is you would take 100 times 7.3. Well, you take your full numbers right here, 7.3 times 100, and that's going to give you 73, okay? And then you have 2 zeros right here, 1, 2, all right? And then you look at your decimal, and you say, well, I have 1 decimal place. I have to go over here, so you're going to move it over here to 1. So you're going to have 730. So 7 3 meters is 730 centimeters. So the python is 730 centimeters long. All right? It's as easy as that. You're just going to be moving around decimals for these today. You just got to know which unit you're going to use. You got to know if you're going to use 1,000, 10, or 100. Rashonda has 50 dominoes, and each domino is 4 centimeters long. She lines them up end to end as shown. So how many meters long is the line of dominoes? So again, this is right here is a domino. It looks like dice, but these are dominoes, okay? And they're all 4. So basically what you're doing here is you're finding the length, because again, it says each is 4 centimeters, but here's the tricky part right here. It says how many meters. So we got to convert that into meters. So we got to do two things here. We got to figure out how many total centimeters it is and then convert that into meters. So if we have 50 of these guys times 4, that gives us what? 50 times 4 is 200 centimeters. Okay. So now we're going to convert 200 centimeters into meters. And we already said that centimeters, 1 meter equals how many centimeters? Well, if we go back and we look right here, 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. Okay. So we're going to divide 200 divided by 100. So 200 divided by 100. Well, that should be fairly easy because you got all these zeros. Remember, when you divide, you just cross these out because there's 2 on each side. So 2 divided by 1 is what? It's 2. So 200 centimeters is equal to 2 meters. So the line of 50 dominoes is 2 meters long. That's all you guys got to do is just move zeros around today. That's why the metric system is really easy to practice with. All right, so we have 5 meters equals, and we're wondering how many centimeters it is. So again, we think to ourselves, well, how many centimeters are in a meter? Well, that's 100. So that's the number we're going to use, 100. And if you remember, a meter is big, so we need to see basically the small numbers. So we're going from a big to a small, which means that we would multiply, right? So there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So we take 5 times 100, we equals 500. So 5 meters equals 500 centimeters. So 5 meter sticks is 500 centimeters because each of those is 100 centimeters. 9,000 meters is how many kilometers? So again, we think to ourselves, for a kilometer, how many meters are in a kilometer? So we go here and we say there are 1,000. So the number we're going to use is 1,000. So you got to think to yourself, am I going to multiply or divide here? Well, they already told you to divide. And the reason why you know that is because meter is smaller than the kilometer, and you're going from a small to a big, you divide. So when you divide, you cross out your zeros, right? 1 on each side, like so. And what's 9 divided by 1? You get is 9, right? So 9 kilometers for that one. So the talk math over here on the side with the girl with the little dogs or puppies or whatever they are, how can you use mental math to convert 7 and 3/3800 kilometers to meters? Well, mental math, you can say, well, I know that there are 100 meters, right? Because we look here and we look at this right here. Sorry, there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer. So we're going to move it. There's 3 zeros, right? 1,000, there's 1, 2, 3. So that basically means that we're going to move this right here. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to have 7,380 meters in 7.38 kilometers. It just means mental math, you're just going to be moving the decimal place over that many places. Let's go ahead and dive into the independent practice here and give us a little bit more clarity. All right. So again, you're going to want to have that other sheet handy, the front page of this handy. And so 700 centimeters to meters. So again, we know that there are 100 centimeters in a meter. And we know that a centimeter, again, is the small one, and a meter is this whole large. So this is basically a small to a large. It means we're going to divide. So we have that 100. So what's 700 divided by 100? Well, you take out these zeros, right? And you get 7 divided by 1, which is 7. Easy as that. 8,500 millimeters to meters. Again, millimeters, the little tiny itsy bitsy thing compared to a meter, which is the whole stick. So small to a big, right? We're going to divide. Well, how many millimeters are there in a meter? 1,000, right? 1,000. Same thing we can do here. When we divide this, we can say, well, cross those zeros out, cross those zeros out. Now we have 85 divided by 10. Well, hey, guess what? We're going to start at 1 0. We're going to start here. We're going to come over here, 8.5. So we have 8 and 5/10 of a meter right there. Okay, this is why we learn things from the past to apply it now, and that multiplying and dividing by powers of 10. That's why we learned that then, so we can do it now. We don't want to learn that later on. 15 kilometers equals how many meters? Well, again, kilometer is the big thing. I mean, it's like from here to town probably. So this is large or big, and this is small. So we're going to multiply, right? We're going to multiply. So you got to think, well, there's a 1,000. How many? You got to go back and look. Kilometers. There's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. Okay, 1,000. So you're going to times this by 1,000. So what's 15 times 1,000? 15,000. You can do this mentally. You wouldn't technically have to write anything down. Again, meter is like a meter stick, kilometer from here to town. So this is going to be your smaller. This is going to be your bigger. So this one you're going to divide. Well, I know there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer, so we're going to divide this by 1,000. So basically, you take your zeros away. What's 73 divided by 1? 73 kilometers. 2 and 71/100 meters equals how many millimeters? Again, meter is a stick. This is large. This is very small. Okay. And we are going to, when we go from a large to a small or a big to a small, we're going to multiply. I know that there are 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. Okay. So we're taking this by 1,000. So 2.71, well, there's 3 zeros here, right? So we're going to say 1, 2, 3. Put a 0 there. So 2,710 millimeters. That's all we're doing, guys. We're moving the decimals. When there's a decimal, we just move it. Okay, next one. Again, meter is large, centimeter smaller. So we're going from a large to a small, meaning we're going to multiply. Again, I know that there's 100. There's 100 centimeters. Again, if we look back at this sheet, down here at the bottom, there's 100 centimeters right there in a meter, okay? So we're going to times this by 100. Again, we look at 2 zeros right there. We're going to move this to the right, 1, 2, so 920. I believe I used to have a chart up that I just threw away about moving decimals. Millimeter to a centimeter, again, small, and a centimeter is larger. Remember, you have the centimeter or the millimeters in here, and then this whole thing is the centimeter. So this is big, so we're going to divide here. So you're dividing that by, well, how many centimeters or how many millimeters are in a centimeter? Well, let's go back and look again. 10. There's 10, so we're going to divide this by 10. And if you remember correctly, when we divide by powers, we don't go to the right, we go to the left 1 because there's 1 0. So you have 1 and 75/100 of a centimeter right there. Kilometer, very large. Meter, way smaller. We multiply here. Okay, multiply by, well, how many meters are in a kilometer? 1,000. How many zeros are there? 3. So we're multiplying. We go 1, 2, 3. So 509 is 509 meters. All right, so we got to convert some things here real quick. You can choose either way to do it. We have centimeters and millimeters. Okay, I would rather multiply than divide, whatever your preference is. I know that there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter, so I'm going to multiply by 10, which gives me 300, and guess what? They're equal. This one right here, again, I'm going to multiply because it's just easier to deal with. There are 1,000 meters in a kilometer, so I'm going to multiply by 1,000. So that means I'm going to take this right here because there's 3 zeros and say 1, 2, 3. So look, 4,800 is our answer there, and those are equal to. Okay, we have 3 centimeters. 3 centimeters or 25 millimeters. If you just look at this right here, you can tell. But if we were to convert this right here, remember there's 10 millimeters in a centimeter, so times 10, which equals 30. So you can see that 30 is obviously bigger than 25. Down at the bottom, 9 kilometers. Remember there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer, so we're going to take this times 1,000, which equals 9,000. So you can see the 9 kilometers is bigger than 8,500 meters. 1.5 meters, or this one. So again, we're going to say, well, how many centimeters are in a meter? So might want to look back if you forget. Centimeters in a meter, there's 100 centimeters in a meter. So we're going to take this, and we're going to times this by 100. So we have 2 zeros, so it means we're going to move this over, 1, 2, which gives us 150. So you can see 100 or 1.5 meters is bigger. And then the last one, 17 meters or 116 centimeters. Again, how many centimeters are in a meter? Those 100. So I'm going to take this times 100. Okay, so we look, centimeters, meters. Centimeters, meters, 100. And so we take this and we start here, 1, 2. As you can see right here, 17 meters is way bigger because this is going to give us 1,700 compared to that one. Okay, way bigger. All right, looking at the back side, we're almost there. We're almost there. We're going to measure. That's why we have the rulers out right here. We're going to measure the distance across the sunflower to the nearest centimeter. Let's do that first. Remember, you're going to stick it on the mark right there, which is what I'm doing. And it looks like it's nearest to 4 centimeters, right? Okay. And now I'd ask you, how many centimeters shorter than 1 meter is the width of the sunflower? So you got to think, well, how many centimeters is in a meter? So you go back again and you look. You're like, well, I don't know how many centimeters are in a meter. You should know this already, but they're 1 meter, 100 centimeters. So the question is, how many centimeters shorter than 1 meter? Well, if you take 100 minus 4, you're going to get what? 96 centimeters. So it's 96 centimeters shorter. Which is the most reasonable estimate for the depth of a lake? And explain. So would 6 millimeters, which would be like right here, no, that's not a lake. 6 centimeters, which would be here, that'd be a really, really shallow lake, right? Obviously, you can see is 6 meters because a meter is the larger unit. And that's why you'd use that. Those others are too small. A spider is 6 millimeters long. So it's only this big, not very big at all. What fractional part of 1 centimeter is 6 millimeters? So again, how many millimeters are there is what you ask on this. How many millimeters are there in a centimeter? If you look back on this chart right here, millimeters, there's 10. Okay, so that's where you're going to say, well, there's 6 millimeters out of 10. That's the fractional part, right? Can we simplify that any? We can divide both those by 2, right? Which gives us 3/5. So the fractional part is 3/5. Okay. Number 20 down here. Circle the measure that does not belong with the other 3 and explain. So you have, let's go ahead. We have 3,500 kilometers. Okay. Then we have, let's convert this to kilometers here. How many meters are in a kilometer? Well, if you go back here and we say 1,000 meters in a kilometer, well, if we converted this to kilometers, this is only 3.5 meter sticks, right? So you literally have, you'd have to move it this way 3 spaces, right? So you'd have 0.0035 kilometers. So those aren't equal there. Again, 350 centimeters here. If we were to convert that one into kilometers, we'd have to go 2 ways. We'd have to convert this to meters, then kilometers. So, we would divide, because this is smaller to large, we divide this by, there's 100, right, which would give us 3.5 meters, right, which, as you can see right there, would be 0.035 kilometers, because it's the same as that other one. And then this one here, of course, 3,500 millimeters. Again, to convert that into meters, right, there are 1,000 in millimeters in a meter. So you would say, well, this would be, you cancel these two out, 3.5 meters. So you can see these are all 3.5 meters. So it'd obviously be this one because the others, I'm going to say because the others are equal. That's why. Okay? That's why. All right, so homework. Okay, again, you have to decide if you're going to divide, multiply, whatever. And I would honestly mark it, say, well, centimeter and meter, well, this is smaller, this is bigger. Remember, you go from a smaller to a big, you divide. Okay, let's say this one here is a kilometer is really large, right? So this is small, and this is where you multiply. Okay, so I kind of gave you a hint there on what you're going to do. You just got to figure out, looking at your sheet here on the front page, which unit you're going to be able to use for that. If you have any questions, obviously come and ask me. I'll be around. Turn it in when you guys are finished. Make sure your name's on it, and you have it stapled in this correct this order. And thank you for watching, and see you after spring break.